Yeah. Ha. I'm boiiz. Yo, it's Elwood and Gucci Mane dropping the strap. So what's good, J-Ness, when you coming back? Now you're a military boy and they got you strapped. Just keep your head held high and simplify. We stand proud for this country and salute the flag. For the troops like you who have served the past. Now let me tell you something about time, it goes by fast. So before you even know it, you'll be home at last. Yo, the crew be missing you like a blast in the past. But we all boys for life, ain't no questions asked. If you stay true to your crew, you will stick to your word. If you let your boys down, your name will never be heard. Cause on boys is a promise, if this ain't no work. Take your bullshit and leave it all for the bird. 508 and 413, that's the streets we rep. We be living day by day, taking step by step. We got respect for the crew and the streets we rep. Yo, the crew be living life without any regrets. So you wanna fuck with us, boy, just watch your steps. So don't step to me, boy, that's what JC said. Cause it's B-Rabbit Dog and I'm rapping this shit. I gotta keep this shit real in the words I spit. So Gucci, take the mic and just finish this shit before I go off the hook and say some shit I shouldn't say. I'm a magnet to this mic, I can go all day. Ha, yeah, it's good.